"It's Silver's Grandis, look at that hair and those eyes." One of them spoke out as they noticed the silver hair and amber eyes. "And are those his grandchildren?" They noticed the twins who were walking behind Silvers. The cameras started flashing, taking pictures of Silvers and his family. This was the first event Silvers had attended, and none of them were going to miss out on reporting this news to the rest of the world. "We greet the seat holder," the servants at the entrance of the gala greeted Silvers. "Please let us guide you all to your accommodations." One of them stepped out and Silvers nodded. His family walked inside the entrance where only invited people were allowed. "This is so beautiful," Silviu's granddaughter remarked as she looked up at the night sky. Though somewhat obstructed, she could still see the majestic castle of Mazelm Island. After Silvers entered, the next to arrive was the Martel family. Accompanying the patriarch was his son Tyrone Martel, the vice president of the student council. As he was the heir, he walked beside his father with the rest of the family trailing behind them. Contemporary romance. Tyrone looked around, noticing the night sky and the decorations adorning the entrance, crafted by various majors. However, nothing surpassed the sight of the glowing white castle in the distance. The auction would start in the evening and end at 10, when the night party would begin. The first day of the auction only featured S-rank artifacts, so it was not too heated. After the Martels, the Watson family from Fascia, one of the elite families, arrived. If one needed to place a family in fifth place among the elite families, it would be the Watson family. The fourth position was taken by the Rothschild family, and the rest of the rankings were considered meaningless, as nobody could truly rank the elite families. "Another seat holder," they commented as they saw an old man with grey hair and orange eyes enter. The imposing aura of the elite families, and their personal guards, made it difficult for reporters to get too close. One by one, a few other invited families that were famous in the world also entered through the entrance. All were guided to their accommodations. The next elite family to enter was the DeMarcus family, with the DeMarcus head taking the lead. Vanessa would have liked this, the lady of the DeMarcus family thought as she admired the beautifully decorated gala. She didn't blame Vanessa, even though she was an illegitimate child. The relationship between her and the DeMarcus head had deteriorated, but they still behaved like a normal couple in public. Following them was the Neville family. Gavin entered with his father, their striking green hair immediately revealing their identities. "You are capturing their photos correctly, right?" one of the reporters asked the cameraman. Some families were bringing their heirs or other children to the gala for the first time, but most reporters were waiting for one particular family. The Greville family, more accurately the children of Ivor Greville. While it wasn't confirmed whether they would attend, much of the world was eager to see the offspring of Ivor Greville, also known as the hero of Soren. This curiosity wasn't limited to reporters. Many among the elite families were keen to see the children of the prodigy from the previous generation. "Who has entered till now?" Christina asked a servant. After 2 hours, many families had arrived. Apart from Greville, Hargrave, the servant began listing the names. "All of them will arrive within an hour, so get things ready," Christina instructed as the maids finished her makeup. "You look beautiful, Lady Levauer," one of her personal maids complimented. "Stop flattering me. Ask Carson to get ready to open the gala with me," she instructed, rising from her seat. At this point, at the entrance, the Greville family had arrived. Every person paused as they felt the imposing aura of Nathaniel von Greville, who stood in front with Arthur beside him. Damien was with Amelia, while Lucas and Livia partnered up with each other. "Are they the twins?" some started whispering. And AskNovel.com, however, the imposing aura momentarily made a few of them forget to take a picture. "Why are they looking at us like that?" Livia whispered to Lucas. "Ignore them," Lucas advised, gripping Livia's hand tightly. He had taken Arthur's advice not to let any comments affect them, as people might try to manipulate them. Lucas was prepared to face any challenges, but he wanted to protect his sister from such things. I think you should take a look at pandasnovel.com. Asher Greville isn't with them. Is he not coming? Someone murmured in confusion. They couldn't understand why the heir of the family hadn't come. Amelia, accompanying Damien, simply kept her gaze forward, used to such situations. Following the Grevilles were Helena and Alfred. It was the first time both had attended together. Normally only Alfred attended, but this time even Helena Raven had come to the gala. From Sylvus to Helena, many people who usually didn't attend were present. This made those in attendance excited to see how the gala would unfold. After the Raven family, the chairman of the World Association made his entrance, accompanied by his two companions. Leonard was just behind them with the daughter of one of the vice-chairmen of the World Association as his partner. Unlike with previous arrivals, the reporters relaxed as the World Association was seen as the face of the common people. Thus, all were very excited to see the entrance of the people leading the World Association. All the other families arrived one after another: the Whiteharts, the Rothschilds, the Williams, and the three families of Halcyon, which included the royal family, the Allister family, and the Everett family. Only the Hargraves were left. Why haven't the Hargraves arrived yet? Some people were confused with only half an hour left before the gala would open. But their expressions quickly changed when the Hargrave family arrived. The seat holder and the family head of the Hargraves came in with a single lady between them. Many were confused, not recognizing the woman. But when someone identified her, everyone soon understood the identity of this lady being escorted by both the seat holder and the family head of the Hargrave family. It was Cassie Hargrave herself, the most loved daughter of the SSS rank hunter, Xerax Hargrave. The one person who hadn't attended any social events for more than a decade. Speculation began to buzz around her arrival. Is it because of the Grevilles? Some murmured, but no one knew for sure why Cassie had chosen to attend the gala this time. Wasn't she the one that was engaged to Eva Greville? One whispered, but no one dared speak any further on the matter. Cassie carried herself with confidence, as if she was used to the social atmosphere surrounding her. Even Jaden, following behind, was surprised by her confident demeanor. No one knew what was going to happen. This uncertainty was the reason the Hargrave family had wanted to avoid hosting the gala. Don't worry, nobody would dare look down on my daughter, Xerax Hargrave reassured, as Cassie smiled in response. There was a reason why Cassie had the most say in the Hargrave family after the family head himself. She had the full support of Xerax Hargrave, the SSS rank hunter, and the seat holder that represented the Hargrave family in the High Council. After 21 minutes, all the servants called the representatives of all the invited families to the White Castle. There were a total of 40 invited families, and Christina Livauer was standing with Carson Livauer before the entrance of the White Castle, whose huge gates would mark the start of the Kalwas Gala. Arthur, who had come with the Greville family, put his hand on the glass ball as they poured their mana in. For the honor of hosting the gala, the theme for this gala is the Eternal Night, Christina announced with a broad smile. As mana was poured in by the 40 representatives, a massive white bird made of mana appeared and traveled across the Mazelm flying island. The Dark Night theme was lit up as the bird shattered and turned into numerous stars, and some of the blobs of light cast the illusion of a full moon appearing in the sky. So beautiful, Amelia commented, looking at the sky with Livia sitting beside her. This was the first time such things were done, and Christina wanted to be the first one to do it. As expected of Livauer, Philia Rothschild acknowledged as she gazed at the sky. This gala is different from the others, Elena observed with a smile, noticing the effort put in by the Livauer family. They are the best at creating beautiful things, Philia agreed, glancing at her daughter. Meanwhile, at the World Academy. So, do you want to go to the gala with me? Asher offered Alyssa, who was confused by his invitation. Why? Alyssa asked, although she didn't outright reject him. I will tell you the reason when we arrive there, Asher responded. Don't worry, you will wear an artifact that changes your hair color and eyes, Asher assured her. But the Kalwas Gala was one place where Alyssa was unsure if she could handle herself. After all, the killers of her mother and her family were the ones enjoying the gala to the fullest. Should I just accept his request? Alyssa pondered. After all, she had received a lot from Asher. The schedule for the gala was divided into 3 sections. The first was the opening ceremony of the gala, during which the invited families would spend their time in the mansions allotted to them. The second was the auction, set to begin in the evening, followed by the quite a night party where mostly the younger generation would dance with their partners. The night party was 6-hour-long event which was done to entertain the guests that attended the Kalwas Gala. It was filled with various events and the dance was the ending event for the day 1 of the gala. This tradition has been upheld for many years at the Kalwas Gala. Arthur looked around and noticed many eyes fixed on him, particularly due to his new SS rank. To them, Arthur reaching SS rank was not good news. You seem to be attracting quite a lot of attention, David remarked, standing at the Seymour family spot. What can I do? I'm just that attractive, Arthur shrugged his shoulders. David merely smiled and returned with Arthur. The auction was about to start, and half of the SSS rank hunters had gathered in the special room designed for their assembly. It's been a long time, Nathaniel Greville, the SSS rank hunter of the Hargrave family greeted Nathan. Looks like you're still alive, Nathan responded with a laugh, but none of these SSS rank hunters were friendly towards each other. After all, only an SSS rank existence could kill another SSS rank existence. Seems like you and Dalton are still not on equal terms, Xerax Hargrave noted as his eyes fell upon Dalton Rothschild. Spare me your games, Xerax, Dalton countered, shutting down Xerax. These rooms were made from the most robust materials to withstand the SSS rank hunters, they couldn't sit with anyone else. A lot of people are attending this time, I wonder why. Osbert Turvian mused as he entered the room. His gaze shifted to Silvers, who was already seated. This room had only 11 seats, each placed far from the others. After Osbert, the 2 vice-chairmen of the World Association also entered the room. So you did attend the gala, Sir Silvers, one of the vice-chairmen said as he took his seat. Despite all of them being SSS rank hunters, a few, like Silvers and Farnes, were noticeably older than the rest. I just wanted to educate the younger ones about the world, Silvers replied calmly. In their eyes, they saw potential enemies. Even amidst friendly conversation, none of them were ready to expose their weaknesses. Another SSS rank hunter entered, this time, it was from the Cranston family. Joseph Kimir Cranston, the seat holder of the Cranston family. The number of SSS rank hunters in the room now reached 8. Ads by Pub Future. Soon, the SSS rank hunter of the Watson family also made his entrance. The only remaining SSS rank hunters were Dexter Wright and Farnes Calmont. I've heard about your grandson's talents, Joseph said, looking at Nathan. That kid is quite talented, Nathan confirmed with a wide grin. But what about him? Nathan asked, his once vibrant energy taking a more sinister turn. This was the Nathaniel Greville they all knew well. One rule was upheld at the Kalwas Gala: no family could attack another during the gala. Only one family in history had ever broken this rule and survived, the Greville family. And the one who had broken the rule was Nathan's great-grandfather, who had severed the hand of a man who had insulted his daughter. The Greville family had always behaved this way, but back then, there were only 5 SSS rank hunters, and Nathan's great-grandfather was one of them. At that time, nobody could challenge the Greville family, but people felt less threatened in the present with 11 SSS rank hunters around. Let's not get too worked up, Osbert interjected, halting their conversation. Do you, the chairman of the World Association, wish to impose rules here as well? Xerax Hargrave asked as he turned to look at Osbert Tervian. As one of the three strongest families, the only entity maintaining the balance and holding the elite families back was the World Association. When have I ever done that? Osbert retorted. I only abide by the rules set forth by the High Council, Osbert stated as he returned Xerax's gaze. If you insist, Xerax said, choosing not to extend the conversation further. It wasn't time yet for their talk to become threatening. After all, the SSS rank artifacts they were all waiting for would only appear on the last day of the auction. In another room, the 7 heads of the Kalvaz Gala were gathered, with Christina from the Levauer family also present. I think you should take a look at pandasnovel.com. So, who will host the auction? The Martel family head asked the old man from the authority managing the Kalvaz Gala. The old man pointed to Cameron, who was standing behind him. Good luck, another head chuckled, aware of how intense the auction could become on the second and third days. Well, our duties are fulfilled, so when will the next 7 heads be announced? He asked. Perhaps on the last day, we're still waiting for the final confirmation from Lord Dexter, the old man replied. Dexter Wright was still working on the vault, trying to decipher how the intruders had breached it. The conversation irked Cumden Whiteheart somewhat, but he could do nothing about it. This was the final meeting between the 7 heads. The titles would be passed on to the next chosen 7 among the remaining 33 invited guests. Back at the Soren mansion, Asher arrived, stepping out of his car with Alyssa and Emmy, who had ensured that no one saw them leave the World Academy. And Asnoval.com, take her to the room on the 2nd floor, Asher instructed Emmy, who nodded in response. Alyssa had agreed to accompany Asher to the Kalvaz Gala, but she was unaware of his intentions. Instead of heading to Tom's room, Asher stopped at a room from which a strange sound emanated. Asher opened the door to find Irwin inside. The same Professor Irwin who would have killed Asher if not for Xander's intervention. Irwin's eyes widened upon seeing Asher. It's been a while, Asher commented as he approached Irwin. Irwin tried to move, but he was unable. He had survived the past months without any food or water, but he had been constantly fed a drug that Asher had instructed Tom to administer. However, he hadn't received anything for the past 2 months. If Irwin were not an S-rank hunter, he would have died long ago. Even now, his body was thin, and odd black veins were appearing all over. Irwin recalled when he fell into Asher's trap. I'm glad that the chairman didn't abandon me, Irwin said, looking at the woman who had saved him. He quickly surveyed the surroundings of the place they had arrived at. However, in the very next moment, the woman approached him. Unbeknownst to Irwin, she swiftly injected a drug into his neck. The action was too swift for him to react. Having just escaped the jaws of death, Irwin was unprepared for the woman's attack. His sudden relaxation made him an easy target. What? Irwin immediately pushed the woman away. As he touched his neck, he felt his connection to mana disappear. It works, Emmy thought as she observed Irwin wobble on his feet. She had received instructions from Asher to trap Irwin by using the word, chairman. Somehow, Irwin trusted her immediately without questioning her identity. Go sleep for a while, Emmy commanded, knocking out Irwin and applying mana restraining cuffs. She didn't know why, but Asher told her to capture Irwin no matter what, before his grandmother could get to him. Since then, Irwin was locked in a room at the mansion, while Asher experimented with his drugs. Be grateful, your time to be useful has come, Asher said, pulling out a dagger and stabbing it into Irwin's heart. Irwin attempted to move, but he was linked to mana restraining devices and didn't have enough power to gather even a small amount of mana. Host has gained 120,000 express. As expected, Asher thought as he read the notifications. As the factors that led to Irwin's weakness were due to the drugs that Asher concocted himself, he received the full experience for killing an S-rank hunter like Irwin. It would have been better if I could have controlled him, Asher thought as he received a message from Tom. Less than Kai has arrived. We can start the final plan. Greater than. At that moment, Kai arrived at the mansion using the teleportation artifact. He promptly made his way to the room Asher was in. May I devour it? Riffer asked Asher, the tattoo on his right arm materializing. Not this one, Asher responded. He had other plans for Irwin's lifeless body, contemporary romance. As the tattoo receded, Kai stepped into the room, catching sight of Irwin's lifeless form. Tom had already briefed him on this part of the plan, so Kai was prepared to transport Irwin's body to the location where Dane was waiting. You have full control over it, right? Asher asked Kai, resting the dagger atop Irwin's corpse. Yes, boss, Kai responded, a sense of satisfaction washed over him. They had nearly completed their mission, and they were both still alive. The past 2 months had been grueling. They had cheated death several times. The numerous injuries riddling Kai's body were a testament to the danger they had faced. At this moment, the auction was about to commence. Although all guests could enter the White Castle, none would do so until the night party, except those attending the auction. No rule prevented them from entering the castle, but those invited chose not to until after the auction concluded. These taste so good, Livia commented, glancing at Amelia. Of course, at this gala all the delicacies from different continents are served, Amelia responded. Currently, servants from the association that managed the Kalwas gala with the 7 heads were attending to them. Given the high status of the guests, the food was meticulously checked multiple times. After all, almost every seat holder of the High Council that managed this world and the society were present here with their families. Lady Greville, Lady Levour wants to meet with you, one of the maids informed Sylvie. Tell her to meet me in the garden outside, Sylvie replied as the maid went to deliver the message. Amelia, take care of the twins, Sylvie instructed, to which Amelia nodded in acknowledgement. While nobody would dare harm the Grevilles, caution was still prudent. Sylvie was well aware that half the elite families despised the Grevilles, but they were powerless against them. This had remained unchanged for centuries. Does Aunt Sylvie know Lady Levour? Livia inquired. Well, she once told me that she knew her personally, but I don't know any further details, Amelia replied. Sylvie went outside, looking at the woman with long black hair and grayish eyes. Her beauty was on par with Sylvie's, but Christina stood up to greet her. Pleasure to meet you, Lady Levour, Sylvie said, taking a seat in the garden surrounded by magical orbs that illuminated their surroundings. The pleasure is mine, Christina replied with a smile. You have made this gala quite beautiful, Sylvie complimented. I just did what I know best, Christina responded, maintaining her smile, despite feeling intimidated by Sylvie's aura. Everyone in the business industry knew the true nature of Sylvie Greville. So, what brings you here? Sylvie asked, picking up a cup from the table. I just wanted to have a chat with you. After all, not many people get the chance to meet the CEO of Abyss Corporation due to your busy schedule, Christina said, producing a black gemstone. Is this the midnight gemstone? Sylvie asked, recognizing the stone. Quite beautiful, but I still want to know the real reason for your visit, Sylvie said, returning the cup to the table. Sigh, all right. But please accept this gift from the Levour family, Christina said. Seeing that Sylvie didn't refuse her gift, she decided to reveal the true purpose of her visit. You might have heard that Lady Cassie is attending the gala as well, Christina began, but didn't notice any change in Sylvie's expression. I have, but she is free to do so, Sylvie replied. She could guess what Christina was about to say. Let's not be so formal, Christina. Sylvie finally dropped the formal tone, realizing why Christina, her friend, had gone out of her way to meet her. I hope you don't mind my saying this, but you shouldn't have brought those two here. It's obvious why Cassie Hargrave has come to this gala, Christina pointed out. You should mind your words, Christina. There's no need to make an enemy of the Hargrave family, Sylvie spoke. Oh, come on, Don't dodge my question, Christina countered. She had come here because she was friends with Sylvie, though it had been a long time since they last met like this. While their conversation continued, the auction started. Currently, Arthur was sitting with David beside him. As the esteemed guests know, in this auction you cannot use real money, Cameron announced from the center of the room, feeling the heavy gaze of many powerful people. So this is what the old man was telling me about, Cameron thought, feeling the presence of the influential people around him. The massive auction hall was designed in such a way that all 40 spots were separated from each other. I think you should take a look at. However, the tension was high as enemies sat under the same roof. Among them was James Rothschild, who sat away from Arthur. James was distracted, aware of the stares he was receiving because of the blunder Louis had made. Camden Whiteheart, sitting with the head of the Williams family, felt those stares the most. But they died down as Williams' family head and Camden sat together. After all, the eldest son of the Williams family was engaged to the eldest daughter of the Whiteheart family. Their shared seat symbolized an alliance between the two families. As you know, we will use steel slabs that you all must possess, Cameron said. In this auction, real money was not accepted, as many of the artifacts were priceless. Instead, attendees used steel slabs earned through selling items at the auction. If a person submitted an S-rank artifact, they would gain a certain amount of steel slabs based on the type of artifact, and the number of steel slabs would increase as the ranks of the artifact increased. As the elite families had economic restrictions, the system made it possible for them to buy such artifacts. The restrictions were not applicable to entities like the Abyss Corporation or Abyss Guild in the case of the Greville family, as neither were fully run by the Greville family alone. Contemporary romance. We will start with the S-rank artifacts, Cameron announced as many decided to participate in the auction. You didn't bring Damien along? Arthur asked David. Do you think I'd let him see these artifacts? David retorted. Well, it's not like he will misuse these artifacts, Arthur reasoned. I know, but it's better for him not to know about such things until he gets stronger, David responded. The artifacts auctioned at the Kalwaz Gala were different from those auctioned elsewhere. This attracted the elite families to the gala almost every time. But all the artifacts followed a single pattern. They were used either for absolute destruction or absolute healing. Every artifact here required a lot of mana and could cause significant destruction or provide intense healing, such as an SSS rank healing elixir, capable of saving a highly injured SSS rank hunter. The gala ensured no single family could amass all the artifacts. To bid at the auction, you needed to submit artifacts that passed the criteria first. Still, the World Association would collect most of these artifacts as they operated the largest guild in the world. Other guilds, run by the elite families, were powerful but couldn't compare to the combined might of the World Association, with headquarters in all 5 components. All 3 associations were formed to oppose the elite families if needed. This is the first artifact, Cameron announced, presenting a bracelet adorned with orange runes. Capable of using a tier 4 fire spell, he described. The guests can start bidding now, Cameron said. A single guest raised their hand. 5 taels, the head of the Watson family bid. Not a bad choice, Arthur mused to himself. After all, the Watson family was known for producing many fire mages and individuals with a strong affinity for fire. Seeing the Watson family head bid, no one else did. They didn't need the artifact that badly. The auction had just begun, and no one wanted to rush, especially since the much-anticipated SS rank artifacts had not yet arrived. While these powerful individuals were excitedly anticipating the auction start and the powerful artifacts up for grabs, they were blissfully unaware of the chaos that was about to descend soon enough. In the garden outside the mansion where the Greville family was residing. I hope you'll consider my advice, Christina suggested as she stood up. I know, but no one will belittle those children, Sylvie firmly stated, a clear indication to Christina that she was unyielding on this matter. You won't be able to prevent the inevitable criticism that will be directed at them, Christina pointed out as she made her exit. Indeed, since the biological mother of Lucas and Livia remained unknown, it was almost certain that the higher echelons of society would cast their scorn upon them. This was one of the reasons why the head of the Damascus family agreed to conceal Venice's true identity until she felt ready to adopt the Damascus family name. However, the circumstances surrounding Lucas and Livia were distinctly different from others. The very reason that Christina went out of her way to converse with Sylvie was because she recognized that the existence of these twins could significantly enhance the future strength of the Greville family. Moreover, there was a high probability that, for the first time in history, two SSS rank hunters might emerge from the same family. Such a prospect was something that many did not wish to see come to fruition. The auction was in full swing, with more and more artifacts being brought up for bidding. Bidding wars were rare, occurring only a handful of times. "You're not bidding on anything?" David asked as he won the bid on a gauntlet-type artifact. "Not really. We don't need them in the Abyss Guild," Arthur replied. Even if one were not aware of the resources the Greville family had, it would be easy to imagine the wealth they must have amassed over hundreds of years as an elite family. This was why Arthur was in no rush to purchase anything that didn't catch his eye. Most bids were from people procuring artifacts for their guilds. Like the Abyss Guild, many elite families had formed guilds to expand their power. While economic constraints varied among elite families, they all could extend their influence through the formation of guilds. Yet, everyone present understood that such economic limitations had no bearing on families like the Greville. Sylvie had successfully turned the Abyss Corporation, mainly dealing with mana crystals, into a corporation worth trillions of ore. This was possible because the Raven and Greville families decided to collaborate, with the Raven family owning a significant share in the Abyss Corporation, which was unmistakably under Sylvie's control. Moreover, the Seymour family was closely tied to the Greville family. As a result, the Greville family managed the Abyss Corporation while adhering to any imposed restrictions. But as simple as this arrangement seemed, Sylvie faced considerable opposition when managing the Abyss Corporation. In Somaria, however, none dared to openly challenge the Greville family due to the feared presence of Nathaniel Greville. Unlike other elite families, the Greville were known for their ruthless behavior and actions. Their image only shifted after Eva's death. Upper society, however, remained unaffected. Contemporary romance. "Well, the real action will start on the third day," David said as Arthur smirked. "Of course, I know," Arthur replied. Certain items like mana gems above S rank, and SSS rank artifacts were not bought with money alone. The number of SSS rank dungeons appearing was generally 1 or 2 at most within a 5-year span. But to clear them, at least 4 SSS rank hunters would enter the dungeon, accompanied by multiple SS rank hunters. That's why no single person could claim the artifact, leading the World Association to submit the artifact to the Kalwas Gala. But there was something even more valuable than an SSS rank artifact, a reason why all these SSS rank hunters attended the gala. It was the SSS rank mana gem, the only thing capable of enhancing their power that had hit a plateau. This time, a SSS rank mana gem was set to be auctioned off at the Kalwas Gala. "Osbert, are you sure you want to submit all these SS rank artifacts to the gala?" One of the vice-chairmen asked Osbert Tervian, after they had left the White Castle and were sitting in one of the mansions arranged for them. "You underestimate the funds of these elite families," Osbert replied. "Well, if you say so," the vice-chairman stood up and left the mansion. "Where is Leon?" Osbert said as he disrupted the sound barrier around him. The servant immediately entered and bowed before Osbert. "Young Master Leonard is in his room," the servant replied. "Tell him to come meet me," Osbert replied as he stared at the sky above them. In an instant, he cast another sound barrier around him. Does he think he can get the mana gem? Osbert smiled, understanding the vice chairman's concerns. After all, among the 3 SSS rank hunters, as the chairman, Osbert held priority. It had been 15 years since a SSS rank mana gem appeared, and Osbert had no intention of surrendering it without a fight. I have failed once, but luck won't favor you twice, Osbert mused, reviewing the information he had gathered thus far. The only concern was Irwin, the professor he planted in the World Academy to assist Leonard with his plans. Osbert didn't want to leave any loose ends that could create problems later on. He needed to confirm that Irwin was already dead. He was confident that nobody could make Irwin betray him. Irwin wouldn't dare move against Osbert, as doing so would cost him his life. But she should be enough to keep them busy for a while. Osbert smiled, contemplating his next move. Osbert lifted the sound barrier for a moment to allow Leonard to enter his room. I think you should take a look at. Meanwhile, at the mansion where the Rothschild family was staying. I didn't see your sister. Rhea asked Kevin, who was sitting on the couch with Elena and Eva present in the room. You don't know? Kevin asked Rhea, who seemed puzzled. Oh, I forgot to mention it to her, Elena said. Eva's brother Reese is coming back, so she'll arrive with him after the auction, Elena informed Rhea. So, they are on a date? Rhea asked, glancing at Eva. Wait, does that mean he'll be returning to the academy? Rhea asked Eva, who nodded in response. Kevin was sitting there because Camden didn't allow him to accompany him to the auction. By the way, did you guys coordinate your outfits? Rhea asked Elena and Kevin. Not yet, Kevin admitted, scratching the back of his head. What? Rhea was taken aback. How could you let him be so lax? You guys will be dancing in the main hall, Rhea admonished Elena. He was busy training, Elena defended Kevin, but Rhea's glare didn't lighten. We still have time, and I'm sure Aunt Philia would have coordinated your dress, Eva said to Rhea, laughing at the awkward situation Kevin was in. The formal dance, the main event of the night party on the first day of the gala, was solely for the younger generation, who would dance with their partners. Rhea and Eva were also asked out by multiple guys, but both of them turned them down. Elena was delighted that she would dance with Kevin, and seeing that, Kevin was slightly relieved as after the midterms, Elena spent all her time training. He still felt guilty for not being able to keep his promise and defeat Asher. Meanwhile, at the mansion where the Alistair family was staying, Sam looked down, a hand on his shoulder. He gritted his teeth to endure the pain. Don't embarrass our family at the gala, okay? The Duchess of the Alistair family said, looking down at Sam. Sam tolerated it, knowing that antagonizing her would only exacerbate his problems. They wanted him to look good, as the formal dance of the night party was broadcast to the world. They didn't want Sam to look bad as he was still considered the son of the Duchess of the Alistair family. Go back to your room, and make yourself more presentable, she told him, turning to Jack who was sitting on the couch, watching Sam. I heard that the heir of the Greville family defeated Blake Cranston, she said, lifting her dress to sit on the sofa. That did happen, but it was just a spar. Blake wasn't serious, Jack replied, a bit nervous under his mother's gaze. She had been strict with Jack and his training, ensuring that he outshone Sam and all the other children from the Halcyon, elite families. Your father told you to support Leonard Tervian, not become his subordinate. Remember that, she advised Jack. Sam, on his way back to his room, looked back, his eyes momentarily cold. This woman was the reason he had suffered so much humiliation over the years. I will kill you with my own hands one day, Sam swore, retreating to his room. Why isn't he here yet? Sam muttered, learning from a servant that the heir of the Greville family had yet to arrive. Well, at least my father will be preoccupied with the auction, Sam thought, finding a small comfort. It was better to endure a few harsh words than face his father. But there was another person who wasn't as lucky as Sam. "Stand up," Kate Cranston commanded, staring at Blake who lay on the floor, blood trickling from his mouth. "Should we stop them?" one of the servants asked the head butler, who was himself worried. He knew that Kate wouldn't let Blake off easy, but the gala was happening and they couldn't afford to have Blake appear injured in front of everyone. "Stand up." These were the words that Blake heard, but he didn't want to stand up again. Whenever he would stand up, Kate would make him block his strike with his sword. But the result was always the same, with Blake being defeated multiple times. And it would remain this way because, no matter what Blake did, the difference between a C rank and an S rank hunter was too big. He had expected to be severely punished, but he didn't think Cade would do it at the Kalwas Gala. "I will train harder, brother," Blake said as he crouched. "I didn't ask you to make excuses, Blake." "Stand up," Cade said as he looked down at Blake. "I shouldn't have asked him to teach me." Blake clenched his teeth as he regretted his choice. Cade Cranston had spent all his years after graduating from World Academy honing his sword skills. His only motivation was to create a sword art even more powerful than what the sword god, Nathaniel Greville, used. And hearing that his brother, who he had taught his sword art to, had lost to a first year, and that person was Asher Greville, Cade was not at all happy. He felt like it was him who had been defeated instead of Blake. "Young master," the butler finally intervened as Cade turned his head. "Young Master Blake will be attending the dance hall, so it wouldn't look good if he wasn't in his best condition," the butler said. The dance hall would be broadcasted to the whole world, and it was a way that elite families and other High Council members showcased themselves. If Blake was injured or not fully well, it would affect the reputation of the Cranston family. "We can give him all the healing potion he needs," Cade said as he looked at the butler. "But he might not be in the best mental condition," the butler said as he bowed his head a bit. Seeing the old butler who had served his family for years, Cade considered his suggestion as he looked back at Blake. "All right, but don't think your lesson is over. After the gala is over, we will begin from where we stopped today," Cade said as he turned back and left with the butler, contemporary romance. As soon as Cade departed, the butler signaled the other servants to take care of Blake. Each family was allowed to bring 10 servants to the gala, but those servants couldn't enter the White Castle. Only the seat holders, like Nathan and Silvers, were allowed to bring 2 of their people inside the White Castle during the night party with them. This was to ensure that all the servants in the White Castle serving the guests were from the association that managed the Kalwas Gala. Ads by Pub Future. At the Greville mansion, Lucas was spending his time with Nate, who was getting along with Lucas quite well. "I heard you reached F rank," Nate said as he jumped on the bed. "Yeah," Lucas replied as he looked at the book Nate had just given him. "This is the general theory behind spell construction. I have read it already so you can keep it," Nate said. Because Lucas had a quiet nature, and he didn't bother Nate like other kids his age, Nate got along with him quite well. Even though they only met once or twice a month, Nate would usually bring over things he wanted to give to Lucas. But most of the time they would spend together with Nate telling him about how useless and annoying their family members were. David had already told Nate to treat the twins as people who were not aware of the upper society and how its people behaved. Knowing that his youngest son acted more responsibly than his oldest, David thought Nate would be a good friend for Lucas. "I will read it later," Lucas said as he turned a few pages. "Are you still reading that book?" Nate asked Lucas. "I have completed it halfway," Lucas replied, and Nate was surprised. "Really?" Nate spoke. "But isn't it crazy how many families that were in the High Council disappeared over time?" Nate said. It had been hundreds of years since the High Council was first created, and it was not hard to see that many of the original families were still present today. The reason was simple. Not all families could have a genius or a capable hunter as their family head every generation. And that made the power of those elite families decline as they eventually fell and were removed from the High Council. A new family would then be chosen. I think you should take a look at. The only absolute seats in the High Council were reserved for the three associations, and the leaders of these associations were chosen by the members of those associations themselves. The seat that was given to World Academy originally belonged to Farnas, as he was an SSS rank hunter. But he proposed to change it to World Academy itself, so that the next principal of the World Academy could take that position. And thus, the fourth absolute seat was made in the High Council. I only read up to the part about the Kashala family, which was the first head of the High Council, Lucas replied. Yeah, but after the fall of the Kashala family, all the seats became equal with no leader, Nate said. But these books really don't go into detail about why such a thing happened, Nate said as their conversation continued. I just want this gala to be over, Nate said as he looked at the ceiling. You don't like these events? Lucas asked. He had heard from his tutors that the Kalwas Gala was the biggest and one of the most beautiful events that everyone wanted to attend. But hearing from Nate, it didn't sound like an event you would want to go to. I would rather stay at home, Nate replied. Do you even know how many times my mom told me to make sure I greet all the people at the gala, he said. And the number of times I was reminded to behave appropriately. But even if I do so, it doesn't change the fact that more than half the people here would want others to mess up so that they would look good, Nate said as he tried to explain it to Lucas. And I heard Dad say that as the auction goes on, it only gets worse and I should be careful around others as well, Nate said. Although what Nate said was somewhat true, part of his dislike of going to social events made him exaggerate it a bit to Lucas. The only people among the younger generation where all eyes were focused were the heirs of the elite families or the potential ones. It wasn't hard to say that the current heirs would one day sit in the High Council, so many people wanted to see what those kids were like. Gaining information on the heirs of the elite families was incredibly hard due to the existence of World Academy, and the fact that the elite families always blocked most of this information from leaking. When will the auction end? Lucas asked Nate. I heard from my brother that it will end in 3 hours, Nate replied. 3 hours, and the party will begin at night, right? Lucas asked and Nate nodded. So my brother would come at night, Lucas thought in his head. He wasn't too bothered about people going after him. But he still listened to Nate, as he didn't want Livia to experience anything like this. But Lucas right now was not aware of how things worked in situations when so many powerful figures gathered in one place. Unlike his past where people openly showed their hatred, that was not the case here. The Greville family had protected them in such a way that not even a single word that condemned them was heard by the twins. Although it was good for the twins, it made them vulnerable and naive to things that could and would happen in the future. It was impossible to shield them from the world forever, and that was why Nathan wanted them to experience this themselves. At the mansion in Soren, Emmy was waiting outside the mansion as per Asher's orders, but she didn't feel right bringing Alyssa with them as well. After all, she knew that if Asher was seen close with Alyssa, it would spark rumors that could harm his reputation. Right now, there were many people who were looking for a way to condemn the heir of the Greville family, as Asher's talent was threatening to many people. I should just follow his orders, Emmy told herself. After all, she had decided to follow Asher, and Emmy believed that Asher knew what he was doing. But if the situation arose where Emmy had to abandon Alyssa to save Asher, she would not think twice about doing so. Inside the mansion, Asher removed the mask from his face, as Tom lifted his hands from his setup. If nothing goes wrong on their end, the mission will be a success, Tom said as he looked at Asher. Make sure to hide your tracks, the eyes on us will increase to such an extent that you'll have a hard time covering things later, Asher said. We have come to the last 5 items of the auction, Cameron announced. The 5th item is 20s rank mana gems, Cameron said. Not bad, Arthur remarked, contemporary romance. David looked at Arthur's wide smile and knew what he was about to do. 30 teal slabs, Arthur said as he placed his first bid of the day. Instantly many eyes turned to the spot, recognizing that it was Arthur who had bid for this item. Is he doing it again? Some of them had such thoughts in their heads. Until now, everyone had gotten what they wanted, with a few bid wars occurring. They were relieved that Greville hadn't participated yet. After all, they were aware of Arthur Greville's habit of inflating the prices of items he wanted if he couldn't obtain them easily. No wonder Greville has so many enemies, David muttered, and Arthur ignored his comments. 50 teal slabs, James Rothschild said, entering the bid war himself. So it was true, the friction between these two families had increased, the Hargrave family had noted, witnessing James's bid. 60 teal slabs, another voice came, the Cranston family had. S-rank mana gems were extremely useful for S-rank hunters and below, even some SS rank hunters would use them. Knowing that his son, Cade Cranston, was an S-rank, it wasn't hard to see why the Cranston family head was bidding on this item. From the start, Arthur only bid because he wanted these mana gems for Asher, but knowing that others would bid as well, Arthur wouldn't let them get these mana gems too easily. 70 teal slabs, Arthur said, pushing the bid. Normally, these S-rank mana gems were worth around 80 teal slabs, and Arthur was not going to let anyone have them for less than 100 teal slabs. 90 teal slabs, the Cranston family head said. Seeing the Cranston family head, James immediately stopped bidding as he didn't need to interfere anymore. Out of everyone present, the Cranston family was the one that always tried to compete with the Greville family. And having heard the news of the second son of the Cranston family losing in a spar with Asher Greville, it was clear why the Cranston family head didn't want to lose these S-rank mana gems. 100 teal slabs, Arthur said. 110 teal slabs, the Cranston family head spoke out again. 120 teal slabs, Arthur increased the bid. At this point, no one else was joining because they knew doing so would be futile. You seem eager to buy these mana gems, Arthur, the Cranston family head said, revealing his SS rank presence. What if I am? Arthur retorted, showcasing his own SS rank presence, which surprised a few. Not everyone knew about Arthur's rise to SS rank, but he had a reason for revealing his rank. Arthur would have kept his rank a secret if he wanted to hide it, but doing so would only give others the idea they could band against the Grevilles. Hiding your strength only gave others the impression they could oppose you, and Arthur didn't want that outcome at all. 130 teal slabs, the Cranston family head said, increasing the bid. 140 teal slabs, Arthur said, pushing the bid. David shook his head, knowing that Arthur wasn't going to buy these S-rank mana gems for 140 teal slabs. Instead, he was trying to pressure the Cranston family head to bid more. 150 teal slabs, the Cranston family head said after some thought. If you want them so badly, you can have them, Arthur said, ceasing to bid. You really push your luck too much, David said, looking at Arthur. I would have bought these mana gems, if not for that old man telling me not to spend too much on other things, Arthur replied. Nathan had told him not to overspend as he wanted to obtain the SSS rank mana gem that would be auctioned on the third day. Cameron brought out a few more artifacts, and one of them was an all-elemental damage necklace which James Rothschild bought for 120 teal slabs for Elena in the future. That necklace was known to boost a caster's damage, while capable of unleashing tier 3 spells of all basic elements engraved on it. The last item was a SS rank spear, which people thought that the Alistair head or the Whiteheart family head would buy, but neither of them bid on it. As Sam Alistair and Kevin Whiteheart were both spear users, many thought that they would bid to secure such a spear for their children. After all, there were not too many weapon-type artifacts, and even if there were, it didn't mean that it would be a spear. With this, we conclude the auction for day 1, but this is only the start, Cameron announced. The night party will begin in a few hours, Cameron said as the servants arrived behind him with the items that were auctioned today. We will deliver these artifacts to your accommodations, Cameron said as all 40 of them stood up. As Cameron finished speaking, the White Castle began to glow as various mages cast magic, causing numerous light-inducing orbs to float throughout the White Castle. I think you should take a look at. Preparations for the night party began as the servants started arranging tables and all the things needed for the events that would unfold. At this time, all the guests returned to their accommodations to get ready for the gala. Damien, did you check on Nate? Verena asked as the maids put an expensive necklace made of blue gemstones around her neck. I did, Mom. He's getting ready with Lucas, Damien replied while sitting on the couch. Make sure that you don't mess up your dance, Verena said, smiling at Damien. I don't mess things up, and I practiced. Damien stopped midway, feeling embarrassed. Silly boy, Verena muttered, causing the maids to giggle and make Damien even more embarrassed. I will check on Dad, Damien said, standing up and leaving the room. Meanwhile, in the Greville mansion. How do I look? Livia asked Lucas, showing him her dress. She was wearing a cute black dress with golden engravings and a belt of thin, crimson velvet cinched her waist, matching perfectly with her eyes. She had a matching dress with Lucas's black suit that had similar golden engraving around the cuffs. You look good, Lucas said with a smile. But the maids were getting nervous as Livia kept moving from one place to another. They were trying to do light makeup on her, but her energetic personality made it difficult for them. As Livia recovered, she transformed from a sickly person to a child with endless energy. Why don't you get ready with Big Sister? Lucas suggested, noticing the maids struggle to dress Livia up. Oh, yeah, but I will come back to check on you, Livia said as she left the room. Lucas turned to look at Nate, who was sitting casually in a light blue suit. Nate and the twins were going with the adults, while there was a different section for younger people like Damien and Amelia. By the way, look at this, Nate called to Lucas. What is it? Lucas looked at Nate, who was showing him a video. It's my idiot brother practicing dancing. I recorded him, Nate said, laughing. You are going to get beaten again, Lucas thought as he saw Nate laughing. Don't tell him I have this, though, Nate said, to which Lucas nodded. The night party was about to begin, and everyone was getting ready to attend. On the way to the Kalwas Gala. Did you enjoy my present, Raylan? A young man asked the person beside him. Well, it was nice to spend a day like that, Raylan replied as they sat in the car. So are we going to the gala now? Raylan asked. Yes, I've already arranged a mansion near the teleportation gates, where you can get ready, the young man said. But you didn't tell me that your injury had healed, Raylan said. Well, my father didn't allow me to, but I'll make sure to inform you beforehand next time, he replied. This young man was Rhys Williams, the heir of the Williams family and Raylan Whiteheart's fiancé. By the way, I didn't bring up the topic earlier, but I've heard a lot about Asher Greville, Rhys said, noticing a change in Raylan's expression. Is he really that talented? Rhys asked, maintaining his calm demeanor. Although I don't want to admit it, the rumors you are talking about are true, Raylan replied. Interesting, I'll meet him at the gala anyway, Rhys said, smiling. Do you dislike him? Rhys asked, noticing Raylan's expression. Of course, after what he did to Elena and the fact that he beat my brother, it would be weird for me to say that I don't dislike him, Raylan told Rhys. Rhys didn't say anything more, because he already knew everything about Asher, as Leonard had told him about it earlier. Well, let's pretend to be friendly with him, Rhys thought. He knew that Leonard was aware of his actions, but letting his emotions get riled up by Asher Greville had thwarted his plans. That's why Rhys was going to change his approach completely. After all, even if Reese managed to suppress Asher's influence in World Academy, everything would change the moment Asher graduated. Asher's talent was a significant variable that could affect their plans. As you all know, we will cover the main part of the gala that will start soon, the reporter spoke, looking at a camera that was floating in the air. In the meantime, we can see the famous White Castle of Mazelm Flying Island, he said as the camera turned towards its right to showcase a beautiful sight of the White Castle glowing in the night. Many reporters were filming the castle as they were not permitted to film the guests unless it was the main dance. Most people were looking forward to the first day of the gala. They were excited to see the attendees who were from the families that managed the whole world. The White Castle had one main entrance, but everyone's entry time had been confirmed already. This was to ensure that no two guests entered at the same time. One by one, the other invited guests entered with their family. All of them were dressed in luxurious clothes and gemstones. The entrance of the White Castle had various illusions of colorful mana strings floating around, creating a vibrant atmosphere as the guests entered. At first, all the non-High Council guests entered one by one with their families. These were people who had much control over high society, but they were still below the elite families. Each of these families was supporting one of the High Council members that attended the gala. Wow, this is so beautiful, a few young ladies that entered the White Castle commented. Each staircase would lead you to different sections of the night party. The most important fact was that they could see that all the cultures of the 5 different continents were respected. The Kalwa's gala showcased the unity of the High Council to the world, but in reality, it was a place where enmities would start over the auctioned items. Make sure to talk to the people I told you about, some parents told their kids. Even if they were invited to the gala, it didn't mean that they were strong enough to stand against the elite families. That's why most of these families would have their children make connections with the young generation of the elite families, in order to ensure that the future of their families remained bright. Soon the guests arrived at their own reserved sections, as the time for the High Council members' families began. The White Castle consisted of a main hall which was large enough for multiple events to happen at the same time. The main hall had a big screen placed there so that the host could say a few words and the main attraction of the second day auction would be revealed. After the formal dance would end, they would display the last 10 items apart from the last 2 that would be presented on day 2, allowing people to decide earlier what they would bid on. As the guests entered the main hall, there was another entrance, but it was for the first floor of the main hall. Ads by Pub Future. All the adults would stay on the second floor that connected to the first hall with a massive staircase in the middle. Even children who were below the age of 14 would stay with their parents as the first floor was only there for the children above 14. Soon many young men and women started to enter the first floor, where a sitting arrangement was also set up for them. As the first floor was reserved for young people, it wasn't hard to see them observing each other openly. Unlike the adults, who didn't reveal their intentions openly, these young people were still a bit immature in that regard. Not all of them were trained and educated as some elite families would have their children go through, so they could learn how to act in high society from a young age. Contemporary romance. And one by one, the elite families started entering, with several eyes falling on the people that were entering now. Each of them exuded a powerful aura, and their confidence showed that they were aware of their positions and how much power they held. The first 3 elite families to enter were from Halcyon, and as they entered, the entire main hall turned vibrant green, reflecting the color of the royal family's insignia. But people also noticed that King Revel Halcyon entered alone, without the Queen accompanying him. Instead, accompanying Revel were Archduchess Everett and Archduke Alistair with their families trailing behind them. Jack and Sam entered from the first floor, along with Licia Halcyon, who entered alone without a partner, and to her left was the 4th-year student of the World Academy, belonging to the Everett family. Next were the families of Fascia Continent, with the Watson family entering first, followed by Alexander Astaria entering the White Castle, and the Cranston family entering last while Cade also ascended to the second floor. The second floor was so large and divided into many sections that it was difficult to see one person from one end to the other. I think you should take a look at. The light illuminated a bright yellow, representing the hot climate of fascia that prevailed most of the year. Next, the light turned sapphire blue, hinting at the entrance of the elite families from the Desmer continent. Lady Levar has made this gala truly beautiful, Philia said as she looked at the entrance of the White Castle. Did you like it that much? James asked, and Philia nodded as they both entered together. It's the Rothschilds, one of the people sitting there informed their kids about the identity of this couple. Next to enter were Cumden Whiteheart and his wife. Relax, Cumden, you don't need to be so cautious, the lady of the Whiteheart family said. I know, Cumden replied as he entered the White Castle. Meanwhile, on the first floor, everyone was surprised to see Kevin Whiteheart and Elena Rothschild entering together. They look so gorgeous, a girl said to her partner, who was also stunned while looking at Elena. Usually at the World Academy, Elena and others would wear uniforms or training suits, but this was the first time they were seen in matching attire. Kevin was wearing a white suit, with light blue cuffs, while Elena donned a white dress, accentuated by a sapphire necklace. Eva and Rhea entered together behind them, as the four of them took their seats. I would love to dance with him, a girl said, looking at Kevin. She was one of the few girls who had come without a partner. In high society, Kevin was still more famous than Asher, who rarely attended social events. Most people only knew Asher from the representative tournament, but Kevin had frequently appeared at social events. The lights turned light blue and the mana orbs started to flicker. It was time for the elite families from Belvaria continent to enter. The first was the Martel family, with Tyrone entering the first floor alone. His tall stature attracted many gazers, but he quietly took his seat, not wishing to draw any more attention to himself. Is he shy? Rhea thought as she looked at Tyrone. Next to enter the White Castle was the Neville family, with Gavin accompanying one of the girls his father had advised him to partner with. However, the most shocking moment came with the entrance of the Hargrave family. Leading the Hargrave family, and walking in front of the family head, was Cassie Hargrave. Her crimson-red dress and stunning beauty mesmerized many people seated on the second floor. But within moments, they recognized Cassie's identity, and a single thought occupied their minds. Looking at Cassie's dress, they were certain that the reason for her attending a social event after a decade was due to the Grevilles, or more accurately, the twins. It seems this night will be fun, the Neville family head smirked, discerning the expression on the Hargrave family head's face. From his expression alone, it was clear how much he had tried to stop Cassie, but in the end, he couldn't. It would be fun if she meets them, the Neville family head murmured, glancing at his wife beside him. Are you forgetting how that woman is? His wife retorted. No, but that's why I am looking forward to it, he replied. After all, many people here knew about Cassie's habits and her nature. It wasn't hard for them to predict what was going to happen next. Even though many people were shocked, none of them reacted even a little bit. Most of these individuals had experienced such events before and had learned how to maintain a facade and hide their intentions. But quite a few couldn't help but glance at Cassie more than once. The Hargrave family moved together as they approached their assigned section. On the first floor, Jaden entered with a partner arranged by Cassie herself. She had instructed him to partner with the daughter of one of the 40 invited guests, apart from the High Council families, who were based in the Belvaria continent. Jaden confidently walked in, carrying the pride of being the heir to the Hargrave family. It was apparent that he attracted everyone's attention, with many youngsters present hoping to socialize with him. Finally, the lighting around the hall turned a faint red as the families from Soren began to enter. The first to enter the hall were Helena Raven and Alfred Raven. Their arrival made some people uncomfortable, as Helena Raven's presence was slightly intimidating. Alfred didn't mind it, allowing his wife to act as she pleased. A servant guided them to their section. Next to enter was the Demarcus family, but the guests were eager to witness the arrival of the Greville family, contemporary romance. Soon after, the last to enter among the elite families were the Greville couple, who were walking with their 2 children. "If someone troubles you guys, just tell me, okay?" Arthur advised Lucas and Livia. "Okay," Livia cheerfully replied, looking forward to entering the White Castle. On her way, she noticed beautiful mana strings hovering around them. But the glowing White Castle was the most beautiful thing she had ever seen. The castle was designed in such a way that it suppressed the mana in its vicinity, and also lowered the ability of the people inside. This was done to ensure that the young children wouldn't get hurt by the vast amount of mana that many people carried here. They soon entered the main hall. Sylvie and Arthur felt gazes directed towards them. All the attention was on the twins, Eva Greville's children. The Greville family had ensured that no information regarding Livia and Lucas was leaked, so this was the first time almost everyone here was seeing them. Livia didn't notice the stairs, although Lucas did, but he acted normally. Sylvie looked at the seating arrangement and noticed how Christina had placed the Seymour family closer to them and other families further away. Part of this was because Christina didn't want her old friend to face any trouble, but also because it was the Levaur family hosting the gala. Even though she knew that by day 3, tensions among families would increase, she still aimed to create the best possible experience for all the elite families. The Levaur family's biggest strength was their economic might, but Christina wanted to use this opportunity to garner even more reputation. After Arthur and the twins sat down, it was time for the World Association, the Mage Association, and the Artisans Association to enter. Osbert was not present on the second floor, as all the SSS rank hunters would stay on a higher floor. As Silvus had brought his family, they also entered, marking the first time anyone in upper society had seen the grandchildren of the Archmage. "So this is the night party," one of the twins with silver hair commented. Ads by Pub Future. Both twins were following their parents, who were confidently navigating the social event as they had attended several on behalf of Silvus before. However, this was the first time they had brought their children with them. At this moment, Leonard was entering the first floor with the daughter of one of the vice-chairmen of the World Association. Osbert had proposed they enter together, and the vice-chairman had agreed. "So he is fine," Leonard observed Blake sitting at his table. Aware of Cade Cranston's personality, Leonard found it easier to control Blake, who was afraid of creating trouble for his family. "He isn't here," Leonard muttered as he scanned for Asher. He moved towards his arranged seat as the lighting dimmed. The floating screen present on both floors showed Christina, who was about to start the night party. "As the host for this gala, let's start the night," Christina raised her glass of wine. The adults raised their glasses in response, as they watched a group of mages lift the illusion spell around the whole castle. "It changed," Livia observed, as the entire design morphed, with music performers appearing on both floors. "You both remember, right?" Sylvie asked, and the twins nodded. It was a tradition of the Kalwaz Gala that the ladies and gentlemen would gather at separate tables for a discussion before the formal dance began. "Yes," they both confirmed, and Sylvie patted their heads. "If you get bored, you can go to the first floor, but return here before the formal dance starts," Sylvie reminded them. "We'll return soon, so you won't have to wait too long," she added. Arthur stood first, offering his hand to Sylvie, who took it and rose from her seat. Presently, over 8 servants attended to each section, serving the guests. Livia looked around and saw various people standing at a distance. Each section had a sound barrier that prevented outsiders from hearing the conversation inside. The only way to call them was using the device present on the table. While the twins enjoyed the music performance, Sylvie went and took her seat at the gathering. It seems Lady Greville is also here, a woman commented, observing Sylvie. I think you should take a look at. Verena Seymour also joined the gathering, taking an empty seat beside Sylvie. I sent Nate to spend time with Livia and Lucas, Verena whispered, to which Sylvie smiled. The table filled with people conversing. The purpose of this gathering was to facilitate a sharing of thoughts among the guests. The conversations paused as a particular woman entered the gathering. It was Cassie Hargrave who took a seat opposite Sylvie, who didn't bother to acknowledge her. It seems everyone has forgotten about me, Cassie said with a smile. How could we forget the flower of Hargrave? One of the women responded. What flower? I am too old for that name, Cassie replied, becoming the center of attention. I think you are still beautiful, Sylvie added, looking at Cassie, who returned her gaze. Thank you for the compliment. It feels nice to hear good things after all this time, Cassie replied, her face tired. All this time. Everyone understood what Cassie was referring to. The fiancé of Ivor Greville, who hadn't appeared at any social events after his death, had suddenly surfaced when Ivor's children were discovered. However, Cassie halted her conversation as she noticed Philia Rothschild and the lady of the Williams family entering together. Let's start this, Cassie thought, a small smile appearing on her face. She turned to one of the women, who noticed her. Your dress is quite beautiful, the woman complimented Cassie. Sylvie understood what Cassie was trying to accomplish. Well, what can I say? It's my favorite color, Cassie responded, touching the fabric of her dress. What about you, Lady Greville? Your dress looks beautiful too, Cassie said, turning to Sylvie. It's Lady Levaur's work, so of course, you will find it beautiful, Sylvie replied, smiling towards Christina. I personally worked on that design, Christina replied, capturing everyone's attention. Hearing this, many were surprised, as getting Christina's personal work wasn't even possible with money. However, knowing Sylvie's status, they could understand why Christina would have made an exception. On that topic, I don't think this color suits you, Lady Cassie, Sylvie said with a concerned look on her face. Cassie's smile faltered a little at this, as she looked at Sylvie. It's useless, Sylvie thought. No matter what Cassie planned to do at the gala, the Grevilles were not so weak as to be unable to protect the twins. Sylvie wasn't worried about anyone harming the twins at the gala. After all, Nathan was keeping an eye on those around them. Sigh, I think you're right, Cassie replied, her words surprising many people. Is this really the Cassie Hargrave I know? Philia Rothschild wondered silently, listening to their conversation. After all, the Cassie Hargrave they remembered was so obsessed with Ivor Greville that no woman would dare approach him. I was trying to move on and leave my past, but when I think about it now, Cassie said. Don't you think the Greville family was unfaithful? Cassie retorted, looking at Sylvie. What do you mean, Cassie Hargrave? Sylvie asked, as the tension around the table rose. Exactly as you heard. Aren't those two children enough proof? Cassie responded. But let's stop here, what happened has already happened, Cassie interjected before Sylvie could reply. My feelings from that time have faded away, Cassie said, a small smile appearing on her face. I did attend this gala for a personal reason, Cassie confessed, confusing everyone, including Sylvie. Although the agreement between the Greville and Hargrave families was broken a decade ago, why don't we try it once again? Cassie suggested, smiling at Sylvie. I've heard your son is not engaged, and my brother's daughter is also unengaged, Cassie continued, revealing her intentions. What about them getting engaged? Cassie proposed. Sylvie's face turned cold at this. Verena noticed her reaction and grew a bit nervous. After all, Sylvie usually remained calm, regardless of the situation, but her children were her weak spot. Is she even worthy of my grandson? Helena said as she entered the room. Cassie's gaze sharpened as she saw Helena enter the gathering. This was Helena's first visit to the Kalwas Gala in many years, so most of the ladies grew a bit nervous. It seems Xerax's daughter is forgetting about the talent my grandson possesses, Helena said, taking the empty centermost seat. I see. But aren't you forgetting about the promise made by my great-grandfather and the gravel head of that time? Cassie countered, playing her second card. After all, that very promise was the reason why she had been engaged to Eva. I guess you're right, Helena replied, but her face remained calm. But you are forgetting that the promise was between the Greville and Hargrave, Helena said as she looked at Cassie. And he is my grandson. What if I say I will make him the heir of the Raven family? Helena said, looking at Cassie. Helena's words made the whole table silent. Deciding on changing the heir of the family, Helena had the power to do so, as Sylvie was the only daughter of the Raven family. After all, he has an affinity with the black element, just like me, Helena said, looking at Cassie. Cassie clenched her fist but her facial expressions remained the same. She hadn't expected Helena Raven to use the fact that Asher carried the blood of the Raven family to break the promise between the Hargrave and Greville families. Cassie was about to say something, but she looked into Helena's eyes and got a bit nervous. However, she relaxed as she had already achieved her target, and it was fine if she couldn't push the Greville into the corner anymore. Nobody knew why Cassie would speak to Helena Raven like this. Even Xerax Hargrave, the seat holder of the Hargrave family, despite being an SSS rank, didn't act arrogant in front of Helena. Cassie stood up as everyone looked at her. Well, I only came here to talk about this, but I need to go back, she said, maintaining her smile as she looked at Sylvie in particular. Take care, Lady Hargrave, a few of them told Cassie as she left the gathering early on. What is she planning? Sylvie thought, as she didn't expect Cassie would leave like this. By the way, the heir of the Greville family is still not engaged, one of the women spoke out. Yeah, there are many good candidates here, Lady Greville, the lady of the William family spoke. Suddenly, the whole conversation shifted towards Asher, as many women there became interested. After all, Asher was now considered someone even more talented than Eva Greville. Well, I will let him decide his future, Sylvie ended the conversation before anyone could take it further. Sylvie was well aware why they wanted to connect with the Greville family. Right now, the Grevilles were considered the strongest family, with Arthur, who had finally reached SS rank. No matter how many enemies they had, Sylvie knew that these people would not think twice before extending their hands to become allies with them. But unlike this gathering, the men's gathering was getting a bit heated as each family head wanted to maintain their pride over the others. I don't mean it in a disrespectful way, the Neville family head said as he looked at Cumden Whiteheart. They were talking about the recent developments when the issue about the vault being breached came up. That was when the Neville family head made the comment about it being the Whiteheart family's fault. Well, I would worry about other things if I were you, Cumden replied. Arthur was enjoying the back and forth between these two, as he noticed that Alexander Astaria glanced towards his direction. Is he still holding a grudge? Arthur speculated. But he didn't care much as the Astaria family were not strong enough to trouble him anyway. By the way, I heard about your son defeating the Cranston family's second son, the Neville head spoke as he looked at Arthur. He probably defeated your son too, Arthur replied, making a few men hold back their laughter. It was a spar, the Cranston family head spoke. If you count a spar as a win, then I could care less about your opinion, he said, looking at the Neville head, but the message was meant for Arthur. At this time, on the second floor where the twins were staying, Nate had also come to join them. Should we go to the first floor? Livia asked Lucas. But we can go after Uncle and Aunt come back, Lucas replied, but Livia got a bit gloomy. Can we go? Lucas asked, looking at Nate. We can go. There shouldn't be any problem, Nate replied as he looked at Lucas. As far as Nate knew, nobody would harm them at the gala, as it was against the rules. So can we go? Livia asked Lucas excitedly. Okay. Lucas replied. As Sylvie and Arthur had told them that they could visit the first floor, he agreed to Livia's idea. Nate pressed the device on the table, and a servant entered. Can you guide us to the first floor? Nate asked, and the servant nodded. I think you should take a look at contemporary romance. Let's go, Nate said as he jumped out of the big couch. Livia and Lucas did the same as they started following the servant. But as the three of them were moving, they went further towards the center, and at that moment, Lucas looked at a woman wearing a crimson dress staring at them. Are you both Eva's children? Cassie asked as she walked towards the three of them. Her voice made the three of them stop, as Nate looked at Cassie but he didn't recognize her. Yeah, Livia replied confidently, but she was a bit affected by the heavy perfume that was present on Cassie. Cassie's face changed a bit, but it was only for a brief moment. Do you want something? Lucas asked as he stepped forward to look up at Cassie. Cassie's eyes changed a bit as she looked at Lucas, who looked a lot like a young Eva. What would I want from Lobons? Cassie said as she looked at Livia. Nate frowned as he didn't like this woman who approached them first. But he looked at Lucas and Livia and both of them were calm. They had heard worse things so Cassie's words didn't affect them. Who even are you? Nate asked as he looked at Cassie. I will tell Mom about this woman, Nate thought in his head. Well, I was the fiancé of their father, Cassie replied. Nate thought a bit as he remembered hearing about someone called Cassie Hargrave who was engaged to Eva. But Livia got confused, and so did Lucas, but he didn't show it. Oh, is that Lady Cassie? A few women that were not attending the gathering came towards Cassie. TSK, why did the Greville bring such children here? One of them spoke out loud enough that the twins could hear her. By the way, it's an honor to meet the young lady of the Hargrave family, the women greeted Cassie. Livia got a bit angry but she controlled herself. Lucas didn't show a single response. Unlike other children their age who would feel intimidated by the presence of these adults, Lucas and Livia were a lot different. Hey, let's go, Nate told Lucas. Cassie saw the twins leave, focusing on Livia the most. I wonder if I would feel better if I kill her right now, Cassie thought as her eyes shone. When Cassie first saw the twins, the only thought in her head was to erase their existence. But she didn't act on her thought. After all, she was aware of an SSS rank hunter that was watching over them. I will get a lot of chances later on, Cassie thought as she turned to talk with the ladies who came towards her. There was still a lot of time, she could meet them again after all, the Kalwas Gala was meant to last 4 days. They are doing better than I thought, Nathan thought as he noticed Lucas and Livia not getting scared of their interactions with such situations. As they grew up, they would face even more people pointing at them. These small interactions would help the two of them learn. Was she really the fiancée of my father? Lucas asked Nate. I don't know much about that time, Nate replied. But I heard Mom say in the mansion that your father was engaged to that woman without much choice, Nate said. But I don't know the full details, so I might be wrong, Nate added. At the mansion Soren, clear the path, and make sure no surveillance is present on the path, Emmy ordered her team through her communication device. We will be moving in 20 minutes, Emmy said as she looked at the mansion. She had made sure that Alyssa's eyes and hair were disguised and she wore a few artifacts, but she wasn't sure about what Asher was doing. Inside the mansion, Asher looked at the information that Tom was showing him. Do I still need to monitor these places? Tom asked Asher. Yes, and relay it to me if you see any sort of changes, Asher said as he looked at the views of 5 different locations in the world. Tom didn't know why Asher had him watch these specific areas from the start, but now he didn't think too hard about it. Asher stood up as he needed to get dressed as well. After all, he couldn't wear the same suit he was wearing right now. Unlike the adults, the first floor was mostly filled with young people interacting with each other. Among them was Leonard Turvian, standing amidst a group of youths. By the way, How is the World Academy? One of them asked Leonard. It's fine, Leonard replied, maintaining his smile. Osbert had made sure that his son knew how to act in every social event. No one would look at Leonard and think he would be scheming their demise while smiling and conversing with them. Leonard's friendly nature was one of the reasons Kevin decided to join him when they would leave the World Academy. Although Reese being friends with Leonard was a significant factor for Kevin joining them. By the way, I heard Reese Williams will be coming to the gala as well. One girl asked Leonard. He told me that he would come, Leonard replied. While Leonard continued conversing with these young people, who hailed from families powerful enough to be invited to the Kalwas gala, he made sure to pick out people that could be useful for him. I heard your family found a new way to use certain artifacts, Leonard asked one of the boys standing there. Oh, it seems the word got out quite fast, the boy replied, pleased that his family was being praised. But our research is still focused only on support-type artifacts, and it will take years until it can be implemented, the boy added, contemporary romance. While Leonard was conversing, other elite families' children were sitting with their own groups. At one of the big tables, Damien and Amelia were talking with each other, sizing up the people they were seeing. Amelia was chatting with Damien when she saw Lucas and Livia coming down to the first floor, guided by a servant. Livia cheered up as she spotted Amelia, who was sitting at the table with Damien. Both twins and Nate headed towards their table and sat with them. Their arrival did not go unnoticed as a few people were looking at the twins. Did you get bored? Amelia asked Livia as she sat beside her. Damien was smiling, but he noticed Nate's expression. Did something happen? Damien asked. We met some woman named Cassie Hargrave who was rude to them, Nate said with an annoyed look. Cassie. Amelia echoed. Is it Uncle Ivar's fiancée? Amelia remembered hearing about her. Once. Big sister, Livia said as she poked Amelia's hand. Yes. Amelia answered. Was that woman really engaged to our father? Livia asked Amelia, looking slightly saddened. Lucas looked at Amelia, as he too wanted to know the answer. Even Amelia didn't know the full details about it, but she knew that it was not better to hide things from the twins. If I remember correctly, Uncle Ivar was forced into an engagement with Cassie Hargrave because of a promise between the families, Amelia said. It was only a verbal agreement as Uncle Ivar didn't want to marry that woman, Amelia continued. But even I don't know the full details, Amelia said as Livia took a deep breath. Even Lucas felt a bit happy without knowing why. But Damien knew a bit more about this topic as David had once told him during their training session. I should keep it to myself, Damien thought as there was another reason Ivar couldn't break off the engagement even if he wanted to. As the promise was about one Greville marrying a Hargrave, there were two people that fit the bill. One was Arthur and the other was Ivar. When you guys go back, make sure to avoid that woman, Damien said, looking at the twins. Okay. Lucas replied while Livia just nodded with a smile. I think they don't understand why I am saying this, Damien thought as he looked at the facial expressions of the twins. Even Amelia wasn't that worried because she didn't know much about Cassie Hargrave, but Damien did. David would usually tell Damien about Ivar, as he grew up and this made Damien very curious about Ivar. And that curiosity made Damien realize how dangerous the rumors about Cassie Hargrave were. But he decided not to tell them until he asked his father about it. As they were conversing, Amelia ordered various treats for the three kids, and they were enjoying their quality time when a few people started coming their way. Are these the famous Ivar Greville's children? One of the guys asked as he looked at Lucas and Livia. Amelia looked up and saw they were the same people that were conversing with Leonard Turvian previously. I think you should take a look at. The guy glanced at Amelia and admired her beauty. Hey, he was going to introduce himself but Amelia spoke first. We didn't invite you here, Amelia said, her cold gaze falling on them. Oh, the guy was confused by her reply. Okay, he said as he turned to leave. causing the others to leave as well. Amelia squinted her eyes, as she noticed all of them were looking down on the twins. It wasn't hard to guess that they only used the twins as an excuse to get closer and talk with Amelia, who was one of the most beautiful girls present there. And seeing a group of 4 guys going back as soon as they arrived, a few others with similar ideas gave up the thought of approaching them as well. Amelia continued talking with the kids as they watched various artists perform. Many of them even amazed Lucas and Livia. As this flow was only meant for young people, Christina made the music and performance cater to their tastes. I think we should go back, Lucas told Livia, who was happily spending her time with Amelia. He looked at the time and the formal dance was about to begin in half an hour. Okay, but take care. Mom and Dad would have come back from the gathering as well by now, Amelia said as she called 2 servants to accompany them back to the second floor. The twins and Nate waved goodbye as they returned to the second floor. Amelia had already messaged Sylvie about sending the twins back and included the fact that they had encountered Cassie Hargrave. At this moment, Reese and Raylan had entered through the portal and were making their way to the White Castle. This is different than I expected, Raylan said as she observed the colored waves of mana traveling throughout Mazelm Island. Reese was also a bit surprised with Christina's work, as the previous gala he attended wasn't like this. Let's take the portal to the White Castle, Reese suggested, looking at Raylan who nodded in agreement. Yeah, I don't want us to be too late, Raylan replied. With a smile, Reese extended his hand to Raylan, who accepted it as they walked together towards the portal. At one of the operation towers built by the World Association, a man was sitting in one of the surveillance rooms, recording the mana readings around the surrounding area where the building was located. Make sure that the connection with the Kalwas Gala remains stable, the head chief said, looking around. With so many SSS rank people gathered in one place, the mana connectivity might become unstable, he reminded them. The formal dance would be shown to the whole world, and it wouldn't reflect well on them as they were responsible for maintaining the channels where the broadcast would be held. I have set the mana sensitivity, we just need to get permission from the people at the Kalwas Gala, one of the men working on a device spoke. But as they were speaking, the man in charge of surveilling a certain area squinted his eyes. Why are the mana readings increasing? He muttered in confusion. Instead of decreasing, the mana readings did not stop at all, they kept rising to ridiculous heights. Seeing that, the man's hand began shaking with fear, as he knew what this meant. Hey! As he was trying to gather others' attention he turned his head, but the sight he saw shocked him. What? He shouted as he saw a single masked man killing everyone in the room. Shush! The masked man spoke as he put his finger on his lips. The man tried to reach out to a certain button but he died before he could even move his hands forward. I got the control over this room, Dane said as he looked around a room full with dead people. Less than niece, make sure to turn off the alert program the way I taught you greater than. Dane heard Tom's instructions and he started messing with the controls. Is it done? Kai asked as he carried the dead body of Irwin. Yeah, Dane replied. Kai surveyed the mess Dane had created in the room, but it was necessary for their plan. After all, bringing Irwin here using the teleportation artifact was part of their strategy. Less than I'll give you the timing to start it, but make sure to leave as soon as I say so greater than. Tom reminded them. Okay. Dane and Kai replied in unison, now at ease following Tom's instructions. After all, Tom's guidance had saved their lives too many times, leading them to believe that Tom was as much of a professional as they were. However, what they didn't know was that the source of Tom's advice was Asher.